Hello to you all. Welcome to Afro Perspectives. Today we turn the spotlight on industrial scale looting of public resources by a tiny business elite with connections to the first family in Zimbabwe. That looting is executed not in the shadows but in plain sight. And this business elite is funded by none other than one of Emmerson Mnangagwa's sons, the ever-present Sean Mnangagwa, and his notorious business accomplice Delish Nguwaya. Together they represent the face of a parasitic business empire feeding off our public coffers. First, let's wind the reels back just a few days ago, on the 6th of July to be precise. What you are seeing on the screen on there is no ordinary ribbon cutting ceremony. That's Emmerson Mnangagwa himself, front and center, presiding over the grand unveiling of the Geopomona waste sorting plant. Watch closely. There he is, shaking hands with none other than former First Lady Grace Mugabe. Then the scissors comes out, the ribbon is cut, the cameras flash, and just behind them, Harare City Council technicians line up, adding a splash of official color to the carefully choreographed spectacle. But beneath the surface of this glossy event lies a story far murkier than the cameras would dare reveal. Well, this would be something worth celebrating, a moment of progress, a beacon of development, were it not for the stench of corruption that rises behind the pomp and ceremony. At the heart of it all lies a festering rot, deep corruption, a decaying government, and the total collapse of local governance in Zimbabwe's local authorities. And as the layers peel back, two names keep emerging from the shadows, Sean Mnangagwa and his ever-present business partner Delish Nguwaya. The faces behind the facade and the fingerprints found at every turn of this scandal. Yes, you will remember them. In 2021, as the nation grappled with the deadly grip of the COVID-19 pandemic, two names emerged in a storm of scandal, Sean Mnangagwa and Delish Nguwaya. Together they plundered a cool $60 million, money meant to save lives stolen in broad daylight. But first, let's start with how we have ended up here. As far back as November last year, that is 2024, without any competitive tender, without any public scrutiny, Geopomona was handpicked, personally endorsed by Emmerson Mnangagwa himself, and handed the responsibility to collect garbage for the entire urban sprawl of Harare and its surrounding suburbs. There was no debate, no transparency, just a decree from the top. And to be absolutely clear about what we are dealing with here, the directors of Geopomona, the entity that is we are talking about here, are none other than Sean Mnangagwa and his long-time associate and business partner Delish Nguwaya. So here, this is where it all gets juicy. Let's talk about the sums involved. Under this murky deal, the Harare City Council agreed to pay Geopomona a jaw-dropping $2 million every single month. And here is the kicker. The contract cannot be reviewed or revised for a full 5 years. That means without lifting a finger to renegotiate, Geopomona, or more precisely, Delish Nguwaya and Sean Mnangagwa, will walk away with a staggering minimum of $162 million over a 5-year period. $162 million. And that is for collecting garbage. And this is just a sweetheart deal. It's a state-sanctioned daylight robbery. And as if that weren't enough, the scandal deepens. Buried within the fine print of the contract lies a sinister clause. Harare City Council is forbidden from challenging the figures. That's right. A separate provision in the contract prohibits Harare City Council from contesting or disputing the amounts payable to Geopomona, regardless of the actual daily minimum quantities of waste delivered to the Geopomona site. It doesn't matter whether a truckload or a teaspoon, the payment remains the same. No oversight, no accountability, just a logged-in pipeline of public funds flowing straight into the pockets of Sean Mnangagwa and Delish Nguwaya. So the question has to be asked, what exactly does Geo Pomona do with the waste collected from Harare streets? Here is where the plot thickens. Geo Pomona is building or has built an incinerator, not just to dispose of the garbage, but to turn that waste into raw material for electricity generation. In other words, the same waste Harare is paying millions to hand over to Geo Pomona becomes fuel for a private energy generation operation. The city pays to give it away, and Geo Pomona profits twice, first from the contract, then from the power they produce. It's not just a waste deal, it's a blueprint for the looting of the city council's coffers, masked as innovation. It's what they call a waste to energy deal. The arrangement is like this. It is officially known as a build, own, operate and transfer project. In theory, Geo Pomona builds the plant, owns it, operates it, and then after 30 long years, hands it over to the city of Harare. But let's be clear about one simple fact. For the next 3 decades, this private entity, Geo Pomona, fronted by Sean Mnangagwa and Delish Nguwaya, will hold the keys to the city's waste and the power it generates, locking Harare City Council into a contract that turns garbage into gold. For Sean Mnangagwa and Delish Nguwaya, that is. Then consider this one tiny but significant detail. Waste incinerators have a lifespan of only 25 to 30 years, which means that when the time comes for the plant to be handed over to the city of Harare, it will be at the very brink of uselessness, worn out, obsolete, and in desperate need of costly repairs. Here is what you might miss in all the noise around this deal. On the surface, it looks like a straightforward contract between Harare City Council and Geo Pomona, but in reality, it's as far from the truth as you can get. Here is how it really works. This contract shifts the entire burden onto Harare's ratepayers, the ordinary citizens. Through the controversial Pomona waste to energy deal, the city of Harare is compelled to collect fees directly from residents, and then that money is funneled straight into government coffers, which then pay Geo Pomona. The people, the citizens of Harare, the ratepayers that is, will actually be paying their rates while the elite line their pockets. This is an invisible, relentless tax under the guise of service. So here is what this means for the ratepayers of Harare. For every man, woman, and family who lives in this city or owns a property in Harare, when Jacob Mafume or any officials comes knocking demanding you pay your water charges, emergency service fees, or public lighting charges, just remember this: that money is no longer just paying for public services. Instead, it is being siphoned off, flowing directly to fund the lavish lifestyles of the likes of Delish Nguwaya and Sean Mnangagwa. So now you grasp the full scale of how the public coffers are being ruthlessly looted. The mouth-watering sums, staggering beyond belief, are laid bare before your eyes. And make no mistake, every dollar, every cent comes directly from the pockets of Harare's residents. This is the price the citizens of Harare are paying for a deal rigged in favor of the elite. Delish Nguwaya and Sean Mnangagwa have secured their sweetheart contract. It never went to tender. There is no watchdog, no oversight, no one holding them accountable for performance. It's just cold hard cash, $162 million handed over to Geo Pomona in 5 years in hard currency, and The Harare City Council is locked into a contract whose terms they cannot even revise until maybe 2029. And we are barely 7 months into the contract. But from where Delish Nguwaya and Sean Mnangagwa stand, they are not satisfied with just fleecing Harare's taxpayers. They want even more. This is only the beginning of a much larger scheme. Consider this. Emmerson Mnangagwa has ordered Daniel Garwe, the Minister of Local Government, to extend Geopomona project not just to Harare, but to Bulawayo, Gweru, Mtare, Masvingo, and potentially every urban center across Zimbabwe. The scale of this scheme is vast, ambitious, and chilling, milking $162 million from the ratepayers in Harare is simply not enough. That is for those two, Delish Nguwaya and Sean Mnangagwa. However, from the facts on the ground, it paints a starkly different picture. Mountains of garbage continue to pile up in places like Mbare, the same appalling sight that has haunted these streets for decades. And just when you think the road couldn't deepen any further, Geopomona is lined up for yet another round of handouts from the regime of Emmerson Mnangagwa. On his recent trip to Belarus, Sean Mnangagwa and Delish Mnangagwa came along. There, they signed a deal for refuse and street cleaning trucks. The very Shackman trucks you see, I've loaded them on the screen right now. But make no mistake, this is no ordinary purchase. This deal is underwritten by the Zimbabwean government, funded from the public purse, and this is yet another thread in the vast web of patronage and profiteering woven by the ruling elite. So you get the picture. This is where we are. And none of this would have been possible without Jacobo Mafume, the mayor of Harare. In August of 2024, councillors who dared to question the Geopomona deal, who sought transparency and accountability, were swiftly fired. Mafume ensured that the Geopomona deal sailed through, securing the City Council's approval. So this is how Delish Nguwaya and Sean Mnangagwa ended up securing a contract tailor-made to milk Harare's ratepayers for a staggering $2.7 million every single month. This is not just a contract, it's a blueprint for industrial scale looting of public funds, signed, sealed, and delivered at the expense of the people. And to cap it all, Emmerson Mnangagwa himself has made it clear just how indispensable Jacob Mafume is to the First Family's business empire. Recently, Mnangagwa declared with unmistakable finality that Jacob Mafume is firmly entrenched in his post. He is staying put and going nowhere. But I'll let him, that is Emmerson Mnangagwa, speak for himself. Here he is.
Meya vedu veHarare tinavo pano. Tiri kutovabatsira. Vachagara. Vagogara vachinzi vanogona asi tirisu tiri kuvagonera.
You can see clearly why Emmerson Mnangagwa wants Jacob Mafume to stay in his post till donkeys grow horns. Because Mafume is the enabler, the man who opens the doors and smooths the path for the First Family's plunder of Harare City Council's coffers under the guise of the so-called public-private partnership. In light of everything we have uncovered, it becomes chillingly clear this is no ordinary alliance. What we are witnessing is an Emmerson Mnangagwa Jacob Mafume partnership meticulously designed to loot state coffers. Delish Nguwaya himself would never have carved out a career in business if it weren't for his connections to Emmerson Mnangagwa and his family. And his two sons, to be precise. I don't need to dig for evidence to prove their ties. Nguwaya says it all. Just listen to him. That's him saying it all.
We are very grateful to His Excellency President and Comrade E.D. Mnangagwa that under the Second Republic, is fostering and creating an enabling environment to conduct business in the country and supporting businesses that are providing sustainable solution to keep the city of Harare clean.
And as if all this were not enough, Delish Nguwaya enjoys protection few of us can only dream of. His security detail includes soldiers from the Presidential Guard Battalion stationed at Ziwarasekwa Barracks. The Presidential Guard Battalion, I just have to give a bit of background here, is commanded by Brigadier General Fidelis Monda, a man with his own heavy dossiers of scandal hanging over his head. But for now, let's just focus on his connection to Delish Nguwaya. There on your screen is Brigadier General Monda standing side by side with Delish Nguwaya, captured just last Friday, June the 6th, at the grand unveiling of the Geo Pomona site. Though on the 6th of June, we witnessed nothing but pomp and ceremony, and ZANU-PF grandees lining up for photo opportunities, there is one critical piece no one is talking about. Geo Pomona's foreign partners, that is. Behind the scenes, a shadowy company based in the Netherlands called Geogenics BV pulls the strings. It's owned by one fella named Mirel Metiri, an Albanian national infamous for corrupt waste management deals. In Albania, his homeland, Mirel Metiri has left a trail of broken promises, building incinerators that either fail to work or remain half-finished, or they are abandoned entirely. In some cases, these incinerators exist only on paper, phantom structures meant to mask the true nature of the corruption at play. This pattern of deception follows that is Metiri, a chilling warning of what awaits Zimbabwe. To cap it all, Mirel Metiri, the Albanian who is the true owner behind this project, is currently being pursued through the courts by prosecutors in his homeland of Albania. Allegations swell that he is on the run, evading justice and fleeing from the very authorities determined to hold him accountable. This is a fugitive from the law who now stands at the very heart of Zimbabwe's waste to energy deal. However, the question remains to be asked, why does Emmerson Mnangagwa not even bother to check who he is dealing with? Why are fugitives from justice, criminals running from the law in their own countries, welcomed here in Zimbabwe with open arms? This reckless embrace of all and sundry reveals a government indifferent to integrity, willing to sacrifice the nation's future at the altar of corruption and personal gain. The stakes are clear, and the consequences will be borne by every Zimbabwean. Well, thank you for tuning in, and if you believe I've overlooked a crucial detail in the Geo Pomona scandal, or if against all odds you truly think Delish Nguwaya and Sean Mnangagwa are doing wonders for the city of Harare, go ahead, make your case in the comments below. And please, let's just focus on the debate here. Focus on the facts, no personal attacks. And more importantly, if this analysis struck a chord, if it stirred a thought or sharpened your view, don't forget to show some love with just a like. And if you want us to continue providing this level of analysis, please hit that subscribe button. Until next time, thank you, siyabonga, tatenda, goodbye.